Chapter 15 is called Alone Again. Oh dear. All right. Aerith moaned softly. Isn't that the most luscious thing in the whole wide world? He asked, gazing at the salt lick. Poppies, whose eyes were fixed on the enormous owl, could hardly speak. That's awful. It's awful, she squeaked. Aerith turned to her. What are you saying? He demanded. Look, cried Poppy, trembling as she pointed to the owl on the barn. Aerith turned and looked. Huh, never noticed that before, he grunted. In wonder, Poppy murmured, Mr. Oakax is only half of that size. Aerith shrugged, and then he went back to gazing at the salt. Well, girl, he said, have you figured out how you're going to get that salt for me? Poppy, still in a state of shock, managed only to shake her head. Aerith took one last, loving look at the salt, and then turned. You know where to find me, he said. Don't let me down. And with that, he began to waddle away. Aerith, Poppy cried, her fearful tone broken. Wait! The porcupine peered around peevishly. What now? He grumbled. You aren't leaving me here, are you? What else am I supposed to do? Help me, Poppy said in a small voice. Poppy, we made a deal. I'd get you here, and you'd get me that salt. I've done my part. Now I'd say it's time for you to do yours. But no buts about it, Aerith snapped, lashing his tail in irritation. Poppy backed away. I'm going home now, but I'll be waiting. With a final glare, he said, Keep your promise, Furball, and he marched off. Poppy started to run after him, but tripping on something, she fell flat. When she got up, Aerith had disappeared among the corn. An unhappy Poppy dusted herself off. It was then that she noted what she had tripped over. It was one of Aerith's tail quills. When he flounced his tail, it had fallen out. Poppy picked up the quill very gingerly. She never really looked at one closely before. It was mostly black and made of long, fused hairs, just as Aerith had said. One end was blunt. The other end, the sharp end, was ivory white. With fascination, Poppy examined the tiny barbs. The point at which she was unable to resist touching was frightfully sharp. She was about to toss the quill away when she all of a sudden had an idea. Grasping it by its blunt end, she swished it about a few times. It moved nicely, kind of like a sword. Here she is. Poppy found a tall blade of grass, plucked it, and tied it around her waist in a sash-like fashion. With care, she slid the quill underneath this belt. It fit comfortably. Then she drew the quill out a few times to see if it came out easily. Though a single quill was not the full arsenal that Aerith carried, it was something. She only hoped she'd really never have to use it. Reluctantly, Poppy turned her attention now back to the enormous owl on the barn. The bird had not moved, but was sitting still on its perch, gazing off into the distance with huge eyes. Poppy was relieved that it had not turned her way. The realization that at any moment that owl might turn and discover her made Poppy retreat into the corn, but not so far that she wouldn't be able to peek out. Once hidden, she tried to make sense of all of her situation. It was all very well that they had reached the new house, but now that she had arrived, she still had really no clue as to why Mr. Oakax would not permit them to move here. Here she is. There's one picture, and then there's another picture. All she had seen was the huge owl. Could that be the reason? Could he have something to do with that? Poppy tried to think it through. An owl of this size would be ferocious. Perhaps Mr. Oakhacks was worried about that bird, that maybe he would steal his food. It certainly would eat a lot. The truth was, and Poppy forced herself to acknowledge it, this huge owl made moving here impossible. Mr. Oakhacks was bad enough, but this owl looked twice as bad. Then Poppy had a new thought. Was Mr. Oakhacks really trying to protect her family? Had she been wrong about him all along? But then perhaps this owl was not really living here at Newhouse. Simply because she was seeing it now proved nothing. It could be passing through, perhaps just spending the night. The sun was now up, and Poppy decided she had best settle in and wait to see what, if anything, happened. Here's a quick picture. There's our new owl friend. Everybody do some thinking. Think back to the scenes and the events that have already happened in our plot. Think about what you know about owls. Make some connections. Make a prediction of what's happening next. Next will be chapter 16. So we've got 5 chapters left. I'm enjoying this. I hope you are too.